Thank you for joining us for day 2 of the International Construction Project Management Virtual Summit. So this is our first session for today, and we have with us Hargeet Kaur to speak about improving project outcomes through Lean and BIM. So Hargeet is a young, talented project manager who is enthusiastic and passionate about the digital transformation of the construction industry. She has a master's degree in construction and real estate management. She currently works in the German construction industry as a project manager. So she is also our steering committee member in the International Construction Project Management Association as our ICPMA representative. So let me introduce to you our next speaker, Hargeet Kaur. Hargeet, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Brian, for such a wonderful introduction. So let's begin. So as Brian already said, I am Hargeet Kaur, and today I would be speaking about how we can actually break the maze of non-productivity in construction by using Lean and BIM. Well, in my opinion, or how I understand is that all we have to do is we have to link the construction and try to figure out the gaps in our construction processes to reduce the non-productivity in our industry. So I would like to re-quote Grace Hooper. And the quote is, "The most dangerous phrase in the language is, we have always done it this way." Well, this quote reflects on the reluctancy that we face in our industry, or the industry faces itself, whenever we try or whenever somebody tries to change the mindset by using some new technologies and tools in the industry. And as you see in the current situation, we are sitting in a virtual platform and trying to exchange our insights about how we think this industry should be and how it is already there. So we really need to reflect on our industry and ourselves, that where are we going and how we can take it to the next level. So before I proceed with my presentation, I would like to discuss the power of digitalization. As I already said, sitting here and interacting with all of you on a virtual platform is actually the power of digitalization. And to emphasize on my fact, I would like all of you to take a look at your mobile phones. And please let me know how many of you are actually using smartphones today. Well, I can't see the polling right now, so I would guess that most of you would be using smartphones at the moment. Well, if we go back a little while and try to understand, why do we need to use a phone actually? What was the basic purpose of using a phone? Well, in simple terms, I would say it's used to exchange information. The information could be in the form of a call or a message. That was the whole purpose of using a phone. But nowadays, our smartphones can actually do much more than that. And maybe that is the reason we call them smart, isn't it? So what is actually the benefit of using a smartphone? Well, it helps in the efficient data and information exchange. Nowadays, you cannot just call somebody, but also you can send them text messages, or you can access all the emails from your phone, or even you can call them through online. So this is actually this is all being possible due to the advancement of technology. Also, you can access the current and the updated information by using internet. You can also access all the information that has been internally stored, or using a cloud or a drive, and also share the information from other people. So in other ways, I would say it has helped us to reduce the request for information that we require. So this is somehow that our daily, you can say daily or every day looks like. It's so easy to exchange information with one another. But how does it look like in our construction industry? Well, I think this picture speaks for itself. This is how information in our industry looks like. This is how we exchange information with each other somehow, and this is how we access the information. So, well, I will put here a big question mark, because this is something that we all need to think about, how we are going to go forward. So why can't we have it so simple as we do it very simply in our current days or in our day-to-day activities? So when today we can access all the information from the board with just a simple click, why is it so hard to find information about our own projects? So this is something definitely to think about. So let's go forward. So now the topic for today is the productivity in construction. Well, I would call it productivity loss in construction. And let's say how it happens. So now the construction industry is actually facing loss in productivity. And after the research of the global report from KPMG, they figured out that only 60% results are achieved when compared to the other industries such as manufacturing and even agriculture industry. Now, why does this happen? Well, there could be a lot of reasons why there is non-productivity in construction industry, but one of the basic reason is the existence of waste activities, or popularly called as non-value adding activities in the construction. Now let's just talk about it. What are these waste activities? Well, just a disclaimer before I go forward, I am not talking about the waste that we generate from our construction industry. That's a whole different topic to talk about. Today, what I'm talking is the non-value adding activities that we have in our industry. So we have, popularly called as 7 different ways in the industry. Well, I go through them very quickly. There are rework, defects, inventory, motion, waiting, overproduction, transportation, and overprocessing. Now, most of you would be familiar that all these ways are generally occurring in our execution phase on the construction site. So that is why we say, because as the lean was derived from the manufacturing industry, and we definitely say that all these waste occur generally on the construction side. Well, in my opinion, this is also some kind of myth, because we definitely have defects and reworks even in our design phase, or you can say in the very beginning of our construction phases. So we'll talk about it further in the next slides. So there are also some reports. 35% of construction professionals' time is spent, which is actually 14 hours per week, on non-productive activities, including looking for project information, conflict resolution, and dealing with mistakes and bugs. And around 31% of construction industry professionals say that the top reason for miscommunication is unresponsiveness to questions and requests. So let's go forward. Now, as I said, we have different waste activities in our industry. Let's also talk about the root causes of these activities. Well, some of them are, first of all, our very favorite non-decisiveness of the client, what he actually wants. Or maybe we cannot definitely blame our client. Sometimes it happens that the project information is not transparent or transparently delivered with all of our project participants. And that's why it's commonly called as non-decisiveness of the client. Undefined goals of the project. When we definitely don't have a vision or a goal for the project, what do we really want to build? This is actually one of the root cause for the waste. Late changes in design. So all these 3 are actually correlated to each other. The next is defect in our design models. This is something to do with us, I would say. And gap in information exchange. And last, increasing RFIs. So if you look at them, there is one thing common in all of them, and that is they are process related. These root causes for non-value adding activities are process related. So to understand how we can get rid of these waste activities, we first need to understand how our construction processes actually work. Oh, I forgot. The last one is definitely lack of collaboration of participants. Well, that's also a favorite one. Now, what does lean say? Well, lean is a theory, but if I have to describe lean in one simple phrase, I would say lean says create value and not waste. Now, at this point, I hope most of you are familiar with the term, what value means in lean terminology. And those of you who are not yet familiar, I would like to explain a bit. Well, value could mean different things to different people. For example, value for me could be something else as compared as value to you all sitting here. But if we try to understand what value means here for the client, it could mean, for example, an economical design. It could mean a high-end quality. It could mean that the project finishes in the right time frame that was assumed in the beginning of the project. Or nowadays, because we have some different kind of goals, for example, sustainability or e-mobility. So value could mean anything. So this term is actually quite important for us, because until we understand what value means for the client or what is he actually looking for, we might actually end up doing a lot of waste activities or non-required activities and then end up creating waste. So let's quickly take a look about the lean construction principles. As I already said, lean theories were derived from the manufacturing industry, and later on, professionals and scholars actually, they gave us 24 principles for the lean, and some of them are here. So basically, it's reduce variability in design, reduce the cycle times, reduce the batch sizes, increase flexibility in design and production, select production control, standardize the design, institute continuous improvement, use visual management, design production for flow and value, ensure comprehensive requirements capture, focus on concept selection, ensure requirement flow down, verify and value, go and see for yourself, decide by consensus, and cultivate a network of partners. Well, if I want to summarize all of them, it says that increase productivity by, again, reducing non-value adding activities. So another point that I would like to add here is that lean tells us that standardize the processes. And first of all, understand that if one phase is completely done, then only move forward with the other phase. Sometimes working parallelly on all the different things actually ends up in a lot more waste than we think. Well, this is something we'll figure out in the next slides. So now, the topic for today, BIM, Building Information Modeling in Construction. Well, I think this is quite fancitized subject and topic nowadays. I have been to a lot of webinars and seminars, and you might have been as well. So today, rather than talking about what building information modeling stands for, first of all, let's try to answer some of the questions. Well, the first very famous and most or frequently asked question is BIM a tool or software? Well, there will be different perspectives. Some might call BIM a tool, some might call BIM a software. But if I have to answer it, and based on what BIM handbook says, it says that BIM is actually a platform, a collection of tools and softwares where we exchange the information on a digital platform. The second question is there a difference between a 3D model and a BIM model? Well, I also come across this question at least 3 or 4 times when I try to explain somebody what BIM can do actually. So the basic difference between 3D model and BIM model is that 3D model is actually a 3-dimensional representation of my own drawing, for example. Definitely, it helps in the visualization, but it does not contain most of the important information that I would need as a model to go forward with my project. So whereas BIM model, as already the name suggests, building information modeling, contains all the information that I would need from this particular model. So this is the basic difference. Now the other question, it's my favorite actually, in which construction phase should we integrate BIM? I would say for answering this question, we all have to quite understand the fact that BIM is not a consultant, or it's not just a tool that we can introduce at any different phase of the project. Although BIM is quite successful in the design phase and is mostly used in the design detailing phase, but I would still say that BIM should be introduced at the beginning of the project because BIM model needs time to develop. You cannot actually give all the information in just one phase of the project. As the phase increases or as the phase gets mature, as the construction gets mature in a project, the BIM model also has to be matured and updated through the project. So this is a very debatable question, and we might be talking about it later on, but I would say, in my opinion, it has to be introduced in the beginning of the project. So another question is, can BIM help to reduce cost escalations, time delays, and waste activities? Well, this is something we'll figure out in this presentation. So moving forward to what are the BIM benefits? Well, before going what BIM can actually do for us, let's see what are the benefits of the BIM. Well, it has some pre-construction benefits in the pre-planning phases, and that is it helps in the better concept selection, better visualization of the prerequisites of the project, accurate cost estimations, early project analysis, and accurate benchmarks for the project. Now it has a design benefits that are same, business, better visualization. This helps in design development, design collaboration, energy analysis as well, and cost estimation again. Now, if we choose to do the execution phase and we want to introduce prefabrication, it's actually a time saver in this phase, and it helps us in accurate measurements because the shop drawings can be directly generated from the model itself. So it's quite accurate in its measurements. It helps in the construction sequences because we can actually link the model to our 4D platforms and try to get the construction sequences from there. Helps in multidisciplinary collaboration. So not only it helps in the collaboration with the planners that we have, but also externally if we have external partners, for example, for fabrication. And again, the whole construction synchronization of the project. It definitely has some post-construction benefits, and those are improved commissioning and handover. As I said in the beginning, that BIM model is full of information. That means the commissioning reports can actually be directly generated from the BIM model. And then better management and operation. So I think I showed you in the beginning a picture how information looks like in construction. So just imagine if we don't have a standardized process or some kind of tool that can help us, then the information for operation and maintenance is something that looks in that picture. So it definitely helps in better management and operations. So now let's just talk a little bit about what are the BIM functionalities. So I said I said that BIM has certain benefits, but how does BIM actually work? So in my opinion, if we want to go with some kind of theory or adopt something, we don't have to just know how, but also we have to know why. So I'm going to share some of the BIM functionalities with you. So the first one is the visualization of the form. Well, I think this is quite understandable, visualization of the form in the form of 3D drawings, 3D models. So it helps in the aesthetic and functional evaluation of the project, actually. The second is the reuse of the model data for predictive analysis. So that means we only need one model to carry forward the information. So it helps in the predictive analysis of performance, automated cost estimation with the help of quantity takeoffs from the model, evaluation of conformance to program client value. The next is maintenance of information and integrity model, information and design model integrity, which is because BIM model is the single source of information, and it also helps in the automated clash checking. Then automated generation of drawings and documents. I already said that before, that BIM works differently. We make the model first, and then we generate the drawings from that. So it's an automated generation of drawings and documents. So to emphasize on this functionality, this actually works as our Microsoft Word documents work. So just understand how difficult is it to work on a Microsoft Word document as compared to a PDF. Which one is difficult, the PDF or the Word document? So this is the automated generation of drawings and documents, which means every time to update the model, you can generate the documents and drawings from them. And also the fabrication detailing, if I don't forget that. The next one is collaboration in design and construction, which is multi-user editing of a single model. As I said, if you are working in a collaborative environment and collaborative model, it is possible that multi-users can edit the same model. Well, this functionality, if I want to explain to a layman, for example, I would say this actually works somehow as we work on OneDrive. So when all the different participants can work on the single file together and see the changes being made, that is how actually BIM collaborative environment works. So not only you can edit them, you can view them definitely, and helps in the pre-construction and construction phases. Then we have electronic object-based communication, which helps in visualization of the process status, and computer control fabrication integration with supply chain. Last but not least, rapid generation of evaluation of construction plan alternatives, which is the 4D visualization of construction schedules, followed by the automated generation of construction tasks. So BIM has all these functionalities. BIM can do much more. So as we said, our smartphones can do much more as we thought in the beginning. This is how BIM is actually progressing and getting mature with time. So now if I have to pick, so given the time constraint, if I have to pick one of the functionality, I would like to pick automated clash detection, because I think this is quite popular in our industry, but at the same time, there are so many myths going around for clash detection. Some find it quite troublesome, some find it quite valuable. Let's see. Well, I have named this theory as a stitch in time saves 9. Let's see how. So if you see this picture shows the clash between two steel girders and a pipeline is running under it. Now you see, this is a very simple clash. So what we did is, I was working in a construction project and we decided that we are not going to use BIM for the clash detection, and we are going to solve this issue on site itself if it overall occurs. So this was one stitch that we could have actually saved before the execution, but we decided not to. So now what happened? If I don't resolve it in the beginning, what is going to happen next? First of all, I have a defect in design that I have to change or rectify. Then we'll have to do the redrawing of the drawings for the execution planning. And then there will be rework on site generated. Now we have to do the reprocurement maybe. Maybe the elements that we ordered before are not required at the moment and we need different sizes or different details. So it's going to lead to reprocurement. Definitely we'll have additional inventory on site, leading to subsequent time delays. So the process was, so this stitch could be fixed. We said like this has to be done maybe in 2 weeks time, which is 10 working days, but now it's going to take more time, and leading with the cost escalation and supplementary cost with it, and also increasing the cycle times. And last, our favorite, it could actually lead to the claims from the contractor. So you see in this theory, a stitch in time saves 9. So this is just 9 simple stitches that I think would be possible. There could be many more, but I would like all of you to just take a look back and try to understand your construction sites, how they were, and try to imagine this is just one simple clash I'm talking about. In reality, on construction sites, we have much more than that, sometimes maybe 1,000. So just imagine how much money, how much time, and how much waste we can actually save just by using this simple functionality of BIM. So let's go further. I would also like to talk to you today about the traditional approach versus BIM and LEAN. Now, if you have been to some of the seminars or webinars where they talk about LEAN and BIM, they try to bring examples from the manufacturing industry. For example, how do we build a car and how do we build a house? Well, this is quite relevant for us, but somehow I understand that we are construction engineers or maybe architects, and somehow we don't understand when an example is given from the manufacturing industry or the automobile industry. So today I'm going to try to give you a simple example of the construction design process. So let's say that we want to construct a house, a very simple house. And I would dedicate this house to my friend, Betty. I would say it's Betty's house. I want to construct it. Now let's say how the construction process actually looks like. So what are we going to do? First of all, we'll have to create an outline or a draft of our project. Then we'll create drawings based on that draft. Then we'll we'll collaborate with our planners, for example, structural engineers, or with the MEP, and we'll finalize the design, and we'll do the design freeze, which means we are not going to change any of the design after that. So once the architectural designs are frozen, we're going to share the drawings with the other project planners so that they can do their work. And at the end, design complete. Very simple as it sounds. But in reality, does that really happen? Is it so simple? Well, let's see. Well, in reality, somehow there is like a small discrepancy in activities or in the flow between design freeze and design complete, which means that sometimes we are lost in this loop. Because what happens is in this phase that if we want to change something, or for example, we want to do a very simple change, we have to come back to the design freeze, we have to update it again, then share with the project planners, they will do their work, and then go to the design. So what happens is, it causes a lot of rework and redesigning, which is actually causing a lot of non-value adding activities. So this is something that I mentioned in the beginning, that rework doesn't only happen on the construction sites, it also happens in the design phase. And what is the reason behind this? Well, this could be design changes due to, as I said before, non-decisiveness of the client. He wants something else now. Or maybe it could be due to the technical changes, lack of clear goals of the project, or maybe the design is uneconomical and that's why we want to change the design. So you see, we are lost in this loop. So which means initially this phase has had to be completed in maybe 40 working days, but now because we are completely involved in this loop, now it will take much more time and we don't know. And this is one of the reasons why we say that our schedules are sometimes not accurate, because we don't consider this, that this here we need maybe some kind of buffer. But I am not in the favor of keeping a buffer, because I believe that buffer is something we give ourselves a time to react. Just a moment. Okay, sorry, it was a message from Brian. I'm running late, so I have to fast up. Okay, so this is the loop I'm talking about. How we can actually try to reduce this time here. How can we try to reduce this rework? Let's try to understand with another example. So now again, I want to make the same house, Betty's house. Now, but before going to my design or my pre-planning, I will try to understand use the target value design here. Now, how I understand is that we are going to first, as I said in the beginning, try to understand what value means to the client, or maybe how much is his budget. Is he looking for an economical design, or is he looking for, as Peter said in his last presentation, that cost is not an issue? So you know your boundaries, you know your boundary conditions here, they're well defined. And also try to understand what are the client information requirements. That means if I want to use BIM in this project, what are the information requirements that are required by the client and how I need to proceed forward. So proceeding with the pre-BIM execution plan, one will make in the later phase. So instead of creating an outline, we start with creating a BIM model and sharing the BIM model with the other project planners. So if we are in the BIM cloud, if we are in the collaborative environment, we have one model. If we choose not to, then we can share our IFC files or the neutral files with each other. So the loop is going to be between us and the planners. So now how will I go forward? So I said, like, now we have an integrated design freeze, or maybe a combined model, including the clash detection. And then I go forward with my design complete. So you see, now the sequence of activities have changed a bit. And at the end, we can generate automatically the drawings from the model, including the quantity takeoff. So you see in this case, every time what happened in this case is that we have less rework, which means less redesign and reducing non-value adding activities. And also the technical changes can be resolved by updating the BIM model. So you mean every time I want to change something, all we have to do is update the model and generate all the information directly from the model. So this has changed the sequence of the activities of the model. So going forward, so we say, like, now this is the loop that we are here, which means just updating the model because it's a single source of information now. So going forward and checking, so we said we reduced waste activities with BIM functionalities, and how many of them are? Well, these are some that I talked in the beginning of the project. So we have achieved some of them. So now quickly, because I'm running out of time, so I'll quickly come with a framework. So based on my research that I did in my master's, understanding how Lean and BIM work together, so I created a small framework. So let's see what are the things that we need to take care when we are in the pre-planning phases. Well, first of all, we need to understand the prerequisites for the project, followed by setting a goal or vision for the project, designing for the value, understanding what value means for the client, aligning motivation of the project participant, which means that we are forming an alliance. It can be either in the form of contracts or personal understanding. And at the end, if possible, conduct feasibility studies before going further. In the design phase, some of the activities that we can think about is using a collaborative approach such as BIM, followed by integrated BIM models, combining models and the class checking, one of the important aspects, and generating quantity takeoffs and cost directly from the model, and using 4D scheduling for execution planning. And the execution phase, what we need to think about is generating shop drawings from the model, using integrated BIM for prefabrication if we have to do it, using lean tools and techniques, which I think Dr. Dev will talk more about in his presentation, applying just-in-time approach, trying to understand that we do not create inventory on site, and using 4D scheduling for monitoring as well. Now, so this looks like a fairy tale. Wow, it's so simple to use Lean and BIM and everything will be solved, our productivity will increase. But definitely there are challenges faced by our industry, and I, as a construction professional, as a young professional, face them myself. So what are those? Just quickly, first of all, dawn awareness about the potential of BIM and LEAN. There are so many myths in the industry already. And one of the important is that application of lean demands change in social culture. The project participants try to shift the risk on each other rather than resolving and mitigating it. And this is completely against what lean stands for. Lean theories demand the partnership of upper and lower level of work structure, which is difficult to achieve due to hierarchy in the work structure. Lack of skilled professionals that can combine the lean and BIM framework in a construction project. Sometimes the client does not demand the practice of lean or BIM and rather selects the contractor and the other planners based on the lower bid. And difficulty to utilize BIM cloud in the remote areas due to internal internet connectivity. I know this is a very small challenge, but it do exist. So with this, I would like to rest my case. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Hargeet, for that wonderful presentation. I know our time is quite short, and that can be a very, very interesting discussion. But for the interest of time, we will take two to three questions from our audience. By the way, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, you can raise your hands, and then we will hand you over the mic so you can ask the questions. So we have one question right now. This is coming from Nick Smith. In your experiences, why can clients be indecisive, and is it possible to help them more by using the new technologies you have identified?
Well, thank you, Nick, for your question. Well, here I would like to, so when I was doing my master's, our professor, she told us that there are two types of clients. Both of them have money, but one is a dentist with a lot of money, but no experience at all. And one is a qualified engineer or an architect. So there is a difference with the clients as well. So sometimes the clients are non-decisive because sometimes it's difficult for them to understand what they actually want us to build. And it's very difficult to convey that message to us. So for us as construction project managers or professionals, this is I would say, the main job to help our clients take better decisions and to carry forward their vision or their goals to the rest of the project team. So I think if we succeed in this point, as I said in the beginning of my presentation, that value is quite important to decide in the beginning of the project, then I think we would be able to help them with their indecisiveness. Thank you, Nick.
Okay. So, one of the best things about lean, your definition of lean is that we create value then and not waste. And this is exactly the reason why we undertake projects. We create projects because we create value. I mean, you have a piece of lot there, and of course that has value on its own. But how do you add to the value of that lot? If you just dump waste on there in a literal sense, then it's probably losing its value. So how do you think how exactly can we integrate lean? Or can you identify a practical area in design where we can make lean actionable? For example, you cited two statistics. One is that there is a 35% loss or 35% lost time just looking for information, and if you add that 31% time lost due to unresponsiveness, then that's already 66% actually. So this is just about getting information. Where is the easiest, or where can be the best starting point to apply lean in design?
Well, as I said, the best starting point is to identifying the value, what value means. That's the best identifying point. And why I said like the people are or professionals are facing a lot of problems in accessing the information or the RFIs, sorry, that occur in our processes is because the way we exchange information with one another is actually outdated. And until we acknowledge this fact, there is no possible way to move forward. The way we share the information with each other or the way we try to calculate, for example, areas based on a PDF rather than directly getting it from the software, this actually shows the reluctancy and the traditionality of the processes that we are doing. So to understand, as I said, lean is way of practicing. Lean is more than a methodology. Lean is a way of working. So to understand lean, first we have to understand the loopholes and the gaps in our construction. And as soon as we do that, we can definitely achieve lean projects.
Okay. Okay. And another question. One of the challenges is in in sharing information is the willingness of parties to actually share data. I'm not sure if it's the same for projects in other parts of the world, but here at least from where I am, that's really an issue. There's clients don't want to share their models, so the design professionals and the construction teams, each of them have their own models. So how do you think can other than policy or legislation to make this openness in information sharing mandatory? How else can we incentivize, or how can we incentivize this collaborative sharing of information that all parties will be open to that idea, because it just won't work if everybody has their own version of information, right? So how do you achieve that?
To do this, we have to set some ground rules in the beginning of the project, I would say. Well, in layman language, I can say that we can talk to them, but that doesn't happen in a corporate environment. So that's what I said, like BIM is quite important to be integrated in the beginning of the project, because that is the time you can talk with all your planners, or at least decide what kind of planners do we want to have on board. It doesn't really matter if they practice BIM or not, but what we are looking for is the same mentality that we want, that we have to live with the next 5 years. I saw a small meme, and that was like, two pigs were talking about, and they were saying like, oh, we have free food in the barn and we don't have to pay anything. Brian, can you mute yourself a bit? I'm hearing my voice. And they said like, we don't have to pay any money, and we can have food as much we want. So the tagline was that when everything is free, that means you are the product. And if we translate the same thing in our industry, as soon as we don't stop looking for the contractors or the planners with the lower bid and trying to understand what we want to have on board, this thing is not going to stop. So to promote BIM, we can definitely have such kind of webinars, talk to each other, create some awareness, but to actually adapt these things, as I said in the beginning, we have always done it this way. That doesn't mean that we have to keep doing it this way. There's always a better way to do things. And so I would request all of you to take some catches from here today and try to just think about it. Why are we doing what are we doing? And is there a different way to do it? Can we really see some changes? So I think the next two speakers are going to talk more about this, and that's going to help our audience today.
Okay, thank you very much, Hargeet. Hargeet will still join us in session 4, where we have an open forum and Q&A. So we encourage everyone to think of your questions, and you can just post it here or grab the mic later. So we will end this session, and we encourage everyone to take a 5-minute break as we prepare for the next session, where we will have Dr. Beth Morgan to speak to us about the digital transformation of the construction industry. So thank you very much, and see you in the next session.